All right, so we're back here on the banks of the wonderful Schuylkill River, and it is November 10th, and we are going to try a grab. This is a base flow grab, so the river is incredibly calm. It hasn't rained in about 5 or 6 days, and so we're going to be doing our base flow grab and then grab a stormwater grab probably next week after the rain. And once again, the esteemed creator, the esteemed educator, and the esteemed lab assistant, Eduardo Duenas, has crafted this remarkably professional contraption. We're going to try and take a grab a little further off the bank just to see if that alters our samples at all. So you can see here what we're going to be using, and we'll see how this one works. Oh, Eduardo, it even holds the weight. Look at you. Esteemed engineer, Duenas. Very nice. Eco-engineering there, bamboo pole, and a clothes hanger. How's it going, everyone? So we're back in the lab 24 hours later from when we did the sampling with the pole. So we got about maybe 5 feet off the bank this time. I am very happy to announce that we have finally found some E. coli in our water. No, it's not really something to be happy about, but as a young amateur scientist, I expected to find something, and this is our third sampling, and we finally find some. So as I mentioned before, what we're looking for are the blue dots on these 3M petrofilms. The blue dots signify E. coli colonies. So right there you can clearly see. Again, all these other red dots are different coliforms, and the kind of clear bubbles around them are gas bubbles that are created in the process. But this is definitely an E. coli coliform right there, a colony, which is exciting so that we know we're doing the process correctly, because there's got to be some somewhere in this river based on urbanization and development around the city. But again, very minimal. The second slide has no blue dots in it. So this one here is E. coli free. There was one in the first one. And then also in our third slide here, we see one small E. coli colony down here, again signified by the blue bubble. So just so you get a kind of sense of how we distinguish these things, the petrofilm is designed in a way that we can see the different red dots, but the blue ones are E. coli, and this is our blank one of distilled water. And very thankfully, there is no E. coli in our distilled water. So again, we have found some, but it's very minimal overall. In the scheme of things, this is a very minute amount. And once again, we'll see what the folks at Reading, Pottstown, I said Pottsville last time, I apologize, Pottstown, and down at Bartram's Garden find in their samples, and we'll continue to cross-compare. A lot more action in the water today. It's actually a lot higher up too. I used to lean on that branch or that root down there. Probably gonna get more in there, but that's good enough. So we got our second storm sampling done today. The water is much choppier, much more noticeably choppy than it's ever been. Well, in the 4 times we've done this, so we're expecting some different results for sure. This time we waited till the next day. It pretty much stormed all night in the area. So clearly there's a lot more water, a lot more movement going on. And what we noticed too on the way out, I was about to clean the sensors like I showed you before, and I can't even reach the sensor right now. First I thought they were loose and like floating through the river, which was a little worrisome, but I'm realizing that this is how much higher the river is compared to the last time. This is the route that I used to put my foot on and stand on to get the sample, and now I'd be underwater doing it, which is fine. I didn't bring any waders with me today. We're using the pole, but just to show you, you know, it's at least 1.5 feet, 2 feet higher on the bank, kind of laterally, which means, you know, it's definitely up I'd say a couple inches. I'm not sure, we'll have to check the reading, but just so you can see the variation. And it rained, it wasn't like 2 or 3 days of rain, it was like one good night of rain, and there's that much change. So Now we'll go back to the lab and see what's what.
Hi everybody, good morning. My name is Eduardo Dueñas. I am the manager of school programs at the Schuylkill Center and also Drew's lab assistant. So he is in a meeting today, so I have to check the results and he is going to be happy. Well, yes and no, because we got a lot of E. coli in these samples and can't wait to share with him what we found.
How's it going, everyone? So we are finished up with our 4th sampling for the fall, and the 2nd sampling in the storm produced a lot of colored blue dots, which signify E. coli. So it kind of confirms some of our hypotheses and helps us to inform our process to improve our method for next time. So we're up here at the Schuylkill Center. This is what I call, it's a project we've been working on. I call it the Vista Connector Trail. It actually is a hiking trail that connects right down to the Schuylkill River Greenway, the bicycle running recreation path that we've been sampling off of. So now we're just up the hill from there in Roxborough at the Schuylkill Center. And as you can see, there's our wonderful Schuylkill River, and this is the lovely Vista Trail here. You can see right now the river is actually looking a little brown, a little darker, a little cloudier. We're still getting the effects of some rain over the past couple days. The rain is slowly making its way from the different hillsides and running off. And so to see the results that we got this time with 20 different colonies, 17 colonies per slide, that's way more than we found this whole time, even in our first storm sampling. So as we thought that first storm sampling, we were there a little too early, I believe. The water was still calm and clear. When we did this sample, as you saw, the water was very choppy, it was very rough, and it had been raining for a longer period of time before we sampled. It had rained overnight, I think for about 16, 18 hours already. So although our original tests were nice and clear, this does show what we need to take seriously, is that especially in storm events, the river suffers from a lot of different things that come down into it. In heavy storm events, there's a lot of runoff from farms that use fertilizers, dog feces, animal feces on the street, runs off into the creeks, runs down in the rivers, and of course the combined sewer systems that most of the cities around here, especially Philadelphia, we are above the Philadelphia outfalls, but nonetheless, in storm events, a lot of the local combined sewers back up and outfall into the river. And that's why a lot of the work being done in the region with green stormwater infrastructure, using nature's system, plants and trees to absorb the water, intercept it above the river and absorb it, and the roots from those plants and trees filter the water to help clean it. So that's a lot of the efforts that are being done in addition to planting lots of trees. But even from here we can see up further Roxborough, Conshohocken, there's more development going on along the river. So that's only creating more obstacles, making our job a little more difficult. So the other variable and factor here that me and my esteemed lab assistant, Mr. Dueñas, are discussing, this sample and our second last sample, we used a pole, if you recall, to get out about 5-6 feet. And even in the non-storm time, we found a little bit of E. coli on that sample, and we didn't find any when we pulled it right from the base. So we're thinking that we do need to get a little further out into the river for a more accurate sample. Again, large trees that grow along the river base can filter the water on site. Millions and millions of microbes do their magic and breaking down different things, and that could have an effect on this, we're not sure. So as of now, the Schuylkill River Greenway project is completed for the fall. We're going to pick up again in April. But me and Eduardo, our hope is to get out on a canoe and actually sample the river in the middle somewhere. That way we can really start to see if not just where we sample geographically in the river, but actually in the proximity, the bank, further in the middle, what those results yield. So again, a lot of people were giving me good feedback and saying, hey, thanks, I'm glad the river's clean. You know, the river is relatively cleaner than it's been in its industrial heyday. This portion of the river in Roxborough and Conshohocken is pretty clean compared to other portions, compared to below Philadelphia. But, you know, there are still a lot of issues with the way that humans have developed and industrialized around the rivers that does not make it totally clean. There's definitely still a coli here in this river at this point during storm flow. And again, we're only sampling for E. coli at this time. So it's not to say if we don't find E. coli, the river's totally clean. But overall, given the 4 samplings, when it's not raining, when it's not a storm event, when it's at base flow, you know, compared to what it used to be, the Schuylkill River in this section especially is still pretty clear. But definitely a good heads up and warning, a reminder about what storm water and what, you know, urbanized industrial development can do to a river. So once again, thank you to the people who have reached out to us, and definitely stay in touch. Keep checking the Schuylkill Center YouTube page for some more updates. And we look forward to updating you when we take a canoe out, and then finally picking back up with this project in the spring. And once we have a full year of data, we can look at things at a bigger picture and start to understand what's going on. So thanks again. Big thanks to Eduardo Duenas for all his help. Big thanks to our lab assistant, Miss Patty Dunn, for helping us out with the microscope in the lab a little bit. And yeah, enjoy the beautiful fall, and we'll see you soon.